Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and in this very special battle report I travelled down to meet IDIC Nick Beers from YouTube. All links and everything else will be left in the description below to go and check out his channel. And I took along my Blood Angels to face off against his Tyranids. So let's get straight into the video and find out how we got on. So I'm back down here with Mr. IDIC Nick Beers, and we are facing, well, playing a 2k game. My Blood Angels have come down to visit your Tyranids.
Indeed, the Tyranids.
So how do we feel this is going to go? What's going to be going on in this game, do we think?
I don't know. I'm quite familiar with playing Blood Angels, play them a lot. You have got a few units I've not faced before though. I know you've got the Storm Raven, which usually I just ignore because I can't do a lot about it.
Yep.
But my Nids, this is the first time I played 2k and also with the Codex.
It's going to be interesting then. This is my first 8th edition game using my Blood Angels as well. So going to be quite unfamiliar with some of the key stratagems, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. 2k is always good.
Yep. And
we are now playing chapter approved 2018 points.
We are.
So my 2,000 point list is now, well, I've been able to add to it because actually it was so cheap now because it came down. I think averaging we're seeing about 180 point reduction.
Yeah, I had 46 points extra in mine.
46 points.
Yeah.
That's not so great. But your Necrons, your Necrons came down.
Necrons, yeah, I got roughly about 200 points extra.
So I've noticed my Demon Army, for example, that came down by about 186, and these guys are similar. So about 180 points worth of extra goodies to play with. And the Tin Hat Brigade, I'm sure, will be thinking that's a Games Workshop marketing ploy to buy more toys.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got no problem with that. Let's buy more. But we're going to crack into the game, and when we come back we'll have all the deployment, the mission, and we'll see how we do. But let's take a look at your army first, then we'll crack into my army. So let's come and have a look down at the magic table.
I'll attempt to pronounce this correct.
I'm looking forward to some of these.
Okay, so this is my Stinger Hive Fleet lock list. I've got the Jormungandr.
That sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Fleet. And first of all, I've got a battalion detachment. I've got in the HQ a Tyranid Prime with a Death Spitter, Lash Whip and Bone Swords, Adrenal Glands. And then I've got my Warlord, which is this here, one that looks like a bat. And she has got Maggot Death Spitters ×2, Monstrous Rending Claws, Sacks and Glands. You've
assumed gender there, have you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, female.
She definitely. You wouldn't find that in the Imperial Guard these days, would you? No, definitely
not. The psychic powers are Catalyst and the Horror. Warlord trait is Synaptic Linchpin, and the artifact is the Yamil factor. In the troops slot, I've got 6 units of troops, 6 warriors, 4 Death Spitters, and 2 Venom Cannons, ×2 squads of those. And we've got 20 Gene Stealers with Rending Claws and Talons, 5 of them with Acid Maw, and again there's 2 units of 20. Then I've got a big unit of 28 Termagants with no upgrades. Elites wise, we've got 3 Venom Thropes. There is a stand-in model that Hive Guard, there is a Venom Thropes. And then we've got 3 Zone Thropes, and they have Catalyst for their psychic power. I've then got a Spearhead detachment, another Flyrant. This one here, exactly the same stats as the first one, except the psychic power is Catalysm and Paroxysm. And then we've got, in the heavy support slot, 3 Morlocks with Toxin Sacks and Adrenal Glands. Comes in at 1998 points with 9 CPs.
Awesome. Looking very, very nice. Lots of shadow going on my wall with my camera, so apologies for that. It will look better once we're on the table, I am sure. Rather scared of all of those Gene Stealers. They're pretty nasty. But yeah, I've only played a Tyranid monster list, so this is going to be interesting to see a semi-horde list. I suppose it's a mix and match, isn't it? Really, there's
of everything.
A bit of mid-side stuff, bit of heavy stuff, and a bit of meat grinder stuff. So. Going to be interesting. Let's go and take a look at the Blood Angels that are going to be facing these critters. Okay, let's take a look at the Blood Angels. Now I am running 3 detachments. The first detachment is a battalion detachment with 3 squads of 5 tactical marines. The proxy is a melter gun that is actually a flamer. I discovered that I didn't actually have a flamer model. And 2 HQs, one of which is the big man himself, Chief Librarian Mephiston. And then we have a Sanguinius, a smash captain. The sword is a proxy for a Thunderhammer. It doesn't actually run the Storm Shield, which is apparently the competitive meta. So he's half competitive, half not. And he's also running a Inferno pistol. For a relic, he has the relic jump pack, the Angel's Wing, which replaces jump pack, which is pretty standard, I think, on most Blood Angels Slan captains. The powers that Mephiston is running is Unleash Rage, the Blood Lance, and Wings of Sanguinius, as well as Smite, obviously. Also within that detachment is a flyer. I'm running a Storm Raven gunship, which has 2 Stormstrike missile launchers, twin las cannon, twin multi-melter, and 2 Hurricane bolters, which actually I have forgotten to bring. They are magnetised. I've got magnetic options to bring with those. So I have.
Shoot then, can they?
No, they can't shoot. They're concealed. They pop out, right? Like Airwolf. Remember Airwolf?
Oh, yeah.
They used to pop out, didn't they? So we'll consider it the Airwolf Storm Talon. I'll cut those guns in the edit. So we then move into a Spearhead detachment. I am running 2 Bile Predators with twin assault cannons and sponson heavy bolters, a small unit of 5 Devastators with missile launchers, and the first ever attempt, or first ever feature in any of my armies, of a Primaris Lieutenant. Bog standard, unpainted unfortunately. He is the 500 store anniversary model, I believe. So yeah, something new for him, so that makes up my Spearhead. And then finally we move into a Vanguard detachment of Death Company. So I'm running a Death Company Dreadnought with Blood Talons and a Magna Grapple, a 5-man unit with bolt guns, and then up on this bridge for the moment, for the purposes of the introduction, is a 10-man unit with jump packs, 2 Thunderhammers, 2 power weapons, all led by the big man himself, Lamartis, and they're looking a bit dated on 25mm bases, but that list comes in at a whopping 1,998 points and comes with 10 command points. So then we have rolled for our mission and got Cleanse and Control from the Maelstrom of War, Spearhead Assault for the deployment. So let's take a look at the Tyranid forces. So over here, Nick, do you just want to run through what we've got over here? This looks quite an intense position to capture this objective.
So yeah, the 3 Zone Throats, the Termagants and a squad of Gene Stealers. These are all spread out so they can get within range of the Venom Throats.
Yep.
The 3 Venom Throats, both units of Warriors, the Tyranid Prime, and another big squad of Gene Stealers just there. The rest is
all in reserve, which is these big gribblies over here. So these Morlocks are going to be coming out of the ground, and these guys are going to be flying in, just hovering over the battlefield, ready to swoop in. From the Blood Angels perspective then, I have got my Devastators sat high up on this piece of terrain. 5 Tactical Marines down on the bottom looking after that objective. My 2 Bile Predators and my Primaris Lieutenant offering his support for those rerolls to wound within his 6-inch bubble to this pile of guys over here. This objective here has 5 more Tactical Marines on it. There is also an objective just underneath the Storm Raven that you can see there, and behind the wall over here, I think just out of range to start with, is another 5-man unit of Marines. The Storm Raven gunship is carrying the 5-man Death Company, Mephiston, and also added to the back under the magnetic grapple is the Death Company Dreadnought. The 10-man Death Company, which are just over here off board, and the Captain and Lamartis are all using their jump packs and will come in on reserve as well. My army comes with 10 command points, but I'm spending 1 on deployment for Death Visions of Sanguinius on the Captain to give him the Black Rage, which means he gets an extra attack. So that is deployment complete. You can see where all the objectives are, these nice lime green objectives. So we are going to crack in to first turn. In fact, we're going to roll off for first turn and see where we get. Now I deployed first, so I'm on +1.
Okay.
I could use my dice roll or your dice roll.
Go for it.
I've not used my dice roller before.
Let's go for it then. As long as I roll a 6, I don't mind.
Sporting my fancy new dice rolling tray, because this is going on my channel and not yours. Let's roll off and see who gets the magic roll. I've got a 6 in effect.
Yep.
So you're going to try and steal?
Yes, of course I am. No.
No, you don't. So the Blood Angels get first turn. So the end of Blood Angels turn 1, and what we saw here was these two predators let rip with everything into this big blob of Gene Stealers. A bunch of casualties there. I was -1 to hit because of the Tyranid Prime, which did affect some of my shooting, and your increased save because of your
yes, -1 to hit because of my venom throats.
Yeah.
And then obviously I had the
increased cover save because of your special army rule. So
I just get a cover save.
Yeah. So that was quite effective though. So still a few there, but no falling back or no morale because of all of the coverage and synapse and everything else over there. These guys over here, my little devastators, let rip with some frag missiles and shredded 9 of these little termagants that were hiding and cowering over here like they should do. And then the Storm Raven gunship flew over into this little corner here, put his hurricane bolters, the invisible pseudo hurricane bolters, I'm going to edit those in definitely, into the Gene Stealers, killing a couple there. And then the multi-melter, last cannon and storm strike missiles killed 3 warriors in total. So not bad there. That's reduced some of your shooting back at me, I believe.
I need some reanimation protocols, that's what I need.
Yeah, our RP rolls. We're going to skip the RP phase in this. This is going to be interesting for you. I don't think you've ever skipped an RP phase before.
It's been a long time.
And a Tyranid Cryptek. Yeah. And that's pretty much the end of my turn. So from a points perspective, Hold the Line was one of my cards down here, which meant I had to ensure that I had 3 units within my deployment zone and Nick had none within my deployment zone. So 1 point scored. And then we move in to the Tyranids turn 1. So the end of Tyranids turn 1, and we had Catalyst cast over here in the psychic phase on these little, on themselves in fact, wasn't it? Yes. On the zone thropes over here, but pretty much all activity was focused over here on the Storm Raven. I think the Tyranids are a bit scared about what's going to drop out of here. So all of these warriors,
the only thing in range.
And it was the only thing in range, yeah. Lots of death spitters, lots of venom cannons, all shot in with their ability to +1 to hit, negated by the -1 to hit of the flying Storm Raven rules, the hard to hit rule. Meant he was hitting on 4s. Lots of damage went through, and I ended up losing 8 wounds out of the 14. Not enough for these Gene Stealers that were moved up, ready to pounce on anything that bailed out due to an exploding Storm Raven. So that was pretty much the end of the Tyranids turn. I think they're looking forward to some of those big monsters turning up shortly. But we'll see what happens in the Blood Angels turn 2 and see whether I decide to bring in any reserves. From a points perspective though, Nick scored a 1 point, which was for
getting that objective, wasn't it?
Claiming this objective over here, that's right. So he had an objective over there, which he has successfully taken. So it's 1 apiece, and we move into turn 2. So the end of the Blood Angels turn 2, and quite successful I thought, really. Not bad. So these two little bar predators just trundled around the corner here, took aim at the big blob of Gene Stealers that were over here and annihilated them with lots and lots of shooting. The Primaris giving them that extra wound reroll. That was first blood as well, so that is a point on the board for the Blood Angels. The Devastators over here fragged the hell once again into the Termagants over here, slaying out another 5 or 6 I think it was. My Tactical Marines over here are just chilling by these objectives, waiting for me to get lucky with my cards, but so far they are just standing there looking pretty in their red armour at the moment. The more exciting stuff over here, the Storm Raven gunship dropped off 5 Death Company Marines that were here waiting to, you know, deal with the horde of Gene Stealers that were coming out here, but alas, the Predators dealt with those before they had a chance to do anything. However, they did drop off the Death Company Dreadnought and Mephiston, and then flew over here. So, dropping off Mephiston in his psychic phase, he unleashed Rage, giving the Dreadnought an extra attack, then gave himself Wings of Sanguinius, which allowed him to act as a flyer and move 12 inches over here into the warriors at the back. Both units then charged. No damage from Overwatch. Oh no, Mephiston took a wound from Overwatch.
Yay!
Yay! But the Dreadnought, with his Talons and his Black Rage and his +1 attack, absolutely ruined a squad of warriors with his flat 3 damage. Piled into the Thropes that were behind him. They then attacked but did nothing, so we're okay there, and we're now all tied up in combat. Mephiston, I think he did a couple of wounds, didn't he?
He did, killed one.
Killed one and a couple of wounds, that was it. I was getting D3 damage, I got 3 on 1, killing 1 off, and then 2 1s, so those damage don't roll over, so his Sanguine Sword was enough to keep him occupied. Some shooting over here though, the big weapons on this guy fired into these fellas over here, managed to chin just 1 wound, their 3+ invulnerable save being quite powerful. But we're going to now move into the Tyranid turn 2, where he has lots of reserves that are chomping at the bit to get stuck into the action. So we are now at the end of the Tyranid turn 2, and we had quite a bit of action here really. Let's start with the deployment stuff. So the Warlord, this Flyerant, arrived and stood proud here, the Batrunt. Batrunt, is that what you're calling him?
Bat bitch.
Bat bitch. Yeah, we go bat bitch. I'm family friendly. I might have to beep that one. And this guy here landed over here, but then landed on the bridge and then assaulted into here. But we'll cover that in a second. Morlock wise though, we have one here that's arrived, another one here that's arrived, and then one over here. They can arrive within 1 inch of an enemy, or an inch away, but not within 6 inches of each other, and issue mortal wounds from their burrowing activities. So I actually lost a tactical marine underneath here, 1 from here, and then 2 from down in this unit. So as these guys arrived, taking mortal wounds and slaying out my tactical marines. Then psychic phase wise, there was some smite action going on, which is why this guy is now a little bit crippled, so he got smited. This guy tried to smite but failed. These guys tried to smite but also failed, so a little bit of psychic failure going on from the hive mind itself. This guy also cast the Horror, so these were at a -1 leadership, and did suffer a casualty from his guy's bug cannon that was firing into these guys, so I did actually lose a beloved Devastator Marine.
Yeah,
he will be
-1 to hit as well.
He will be honoured, and they are -1 to hit for the next phase as well, so that's going to be interesting. So we'll see how that does. The Storm Raven also took 2 more wounds from this squad of bugs down here, rapid firing lots of guns into there. He did actually fail both of the saves that were required, so the poor Storm Raven is now, I'm not quite sure he's on the lowest tier. I think with 4 wounds left, he still might be middle tier. So there was a Dreadnought here at one stage, but these Gene Stealers unleashed a large can of whoop-ass and just shredded him in a single turn of combat without any combat or any ability to fight back. So he was smushed. I then spent 2 command points and interrupted combat with Mephiston, who was now squared off against the Tyranid Prime. Quite easily cut him in 2, but with his Lash Whip and Bone Sword ability, was able to still fight at the end of, even though he was dead. But so he did inflict a wound back on Mephiston, and that was the end of the combat phase. The Morlocks can't actually charge the turn they arrive, so we're going to see what happens and how I'm going to deal with a large number of big creatures and wounds that are sat now at the back of my deployment zone, threatening all my objectives. So we'll move into the next turn, the Blood Angels turn 3 shortly. But from a points perspective, Nick, you scored
1 for behind enemy lines.
1 for behind enemy lines, so that's 3 units over here, so he got a point for that. And because I killed the Tyranid Prime down here, I also had the Witch Hunter card, so I actually scored a point in Nick's combat phase, which was rather handy. So I score a point, you score a point, and we'll move on to the Blood Angels turn 3. So we are at the end of the Blood Angels turn 3, and lots of activity going on in this turn. So obviously my Bile Predator is just going to back away because he was stuck in combat there, which meant he couldn't shoot. So this Bile Predator and the Storm Raven all fired into this guy, and he's just down to 1 wound. I was clutching at straws trying to find anything else I could find to shoot. I was firing bolt guns from these guys, I was firing the Sergeant's bolt gun from the Devastators. All 3 crack missiles from the Devastators up here all failed to hit. That -1 to hit was, I think, impacted them quite heavily there. The Death Company arrived in the middle of this crater, and you can see Lamartis is still in that crater, just lingering. And that was pretty much all the movement phase. We leapt in, and the shooting phase, and we leapt into the assault phase. And Captain Smash, the Slamguinius, or however you want the meta to call him, flew into the Warlord over here, and you can see the Warlord is no longer there. This was a lot of command points spent here, right? So I attacked, and I took 12 wounds. So with the relic and his not his relic, yes, his relic jump pack got him into combat without a problem. 3d6 assault as well, using Descent of Angels for 2 command points. Got him into combat. He then inflicted 12 damage, and you feel no pain 3 of them. Yeah. So he was down to 9 wounds. The combat back, I managed to make all of my invulnerable saves in the first round of combat. Then we both activated for 3 command points the ability to fight again. Desperate times, desperate measures. So Nick went first, and again I managed to get my invulnerable save with a command point reroll in order to do it though. I then activated my one, and as you can see, the net result is the Tyrant is no longer there. Yeah. And you command pointed rerolled a feel no pain roll as well, and that is the net result. Very important for me, because not only did I burn 6 command points just in that 1 round of combat, which has left me with none left. It does mean, from my cards perspective, I've got Big Game Hunter, Assassinate and Slay the Warlord, so it's actually worth a number of points from the objective. These guys made a massive 12-inch assault into the Morlock down here, as did the other Marines. They just piled in for good measure, reducing him down to just 2 wounds. Lamartis failed his charge despite the Death Company rerolls, and is just stuck in the open, probably about to be eaten by potentially 2 other Morlocks. Over in the far corner then, Mephiston is still in combat. He did kill 1 with Smite, and then 1 in combat, and knocking a couple of wounds off of one other one as well. So he's gradually you know, meat grinding his way through this batch of warriors over here. And those Death Company did not a lot, so they are sat over there. And that was pretty much the end of the Blood Angels turn 3. It's all in the balance as we head into the Tyranid turn 3. So the end of the Tyranid turn 3, is that all we've got to? Turn 3 is brutal. The warriors with all the cannons fell back from Mephiston, and then he was promptly mobbed by a big mob of Gene Stealers who ripped him asunder quite quickly. Volume of attacks there is just horrendous. The Venom Thropes over here then assaulted into my 5-man unit of Death Company. They bounced off. The Death Company killed 1, but then they bled with their toxic miasma and actually inflicted 3 mortal wounds, leaving me with just 2 Death Company left over here. The Termagants over here unleashed with all their, well, piddly little guns, and took another wound off of the Storm Raven, who promptly failing all of his armour saves these days. These guys here did whiff their Smite ability though. This guy here, he's down to 1 wound, but with his gun and with Smite, my Warlord is now gone. So not only have you got Slay the Warlord, that was what was the Kingslayer, and you had Kill the Psyker. Yeah. So a good point scoring round so far. This combat here, the Morlock that was there was promptly dispatched by more Thunderhammers from the Death Company. They smashed him to pieces, but the one that was over here burrowed back down underground again and is back in reserve. The final Morlock is just in combat with 2 lowly Marines that are kind of cowering in this building in this corner. They did manage to pick a wound off him though, which was interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all. 1 measly wound, But that's pretty much the end of the Tyranid turn 3. I'm going to move into Blood Angels turn 4. The score currently standing at 7 points to the Blood Angels and 6 points. 6 points to the Tyranids.
You're on 7 though.
I'm on 7. 7-6. You had a good round of scoring there. You that Warlord and all the other cards that were stacked up definitely brought you back into the game. So let's see how the Blood Angels fare on the next round. So the end of the Blood Angels turn 4 saw the 3 objective cards come up, are all defend objectives. So that means I've got to hold them for my turn and for Nick's turn as well. So Nick's turn and Nick's turn. That makes sense, doesn't it? So one of them, fortunately, is the one down here in my deployment zone. The other one is in the middle of the board. So I advanced my Bile Predator up to try and hold that one. The final one is actually deep within this blob of biomass over here. So I'm kind of not going to get to that one. But they are worth 2 points each should they be achieved. The rest of the movement phase then saw these Death Company leap up from the floor into that one wounded Flyrant and promptly smush him to pieces. He was only on 1 wound, so Thunderhammers will do that to you. The Storm Raven flew over to here, unleashed a load of guns, and then the Warrior Brood that was over there with the only shooting really to come back at me and managed to inflict enough damage. Those Storm Strike missiles doing flat 3 damage are very, very nice, as we've just discovered.
Yeah.
Over here then, my guys did fall out of combat just to give Nick something to think about, rather than killing me in my turn and then marching onto me in his own. And other than that, that was pretty much it. Quite a quick turn really, as we move into the Tyranid turn 4. So at the end of the Tyranid turn 4, these guys managed to get out a smite finally and take 3 wounds off of this Bile Predator, who's sitting there ready to secure the objective in the next turn, which is going to be nice. These guys over here just spread out to make sure that you can claim that objective in the next turn, and then these guys promptly dispatched with boiling blood and guts and corruption and everything else and killed my 2 Death Company, who did nothing in return. Your Morlock reappeared, burrowed himself way back underneath, ready for this objective, which is part of one of your cards as well. And as he did so, inflicted a mortal wound on these Marines here. So 1 Marine had died. This combat over here, with your big combat monster,
yeah.
I passed all my saves and inflicted a wound back on you, knocking you down into your middle tier. So go Blood Angels. Woo!
Win.
And that was pretty much the end of the Tyranid turn 4. We can move into Blood Angels turn 4, see if we can get some points. You secured 1 point in that game. That puts us on 7 apiece. So let's see what the Blood Angels can do in retaliation. So the end of Blood Angels turn 4. Are we on 4?
Well, no, that was your 5.
That was my 5, was it? Wow, we've been playing forever. But yeah, all that happened here was that the bows all kind of sat on that objective because I had to secure that for 2 turns, which I've done. They've also fired into the things that were killing my Death Company over there. What are they called again? Venom Throats, and finally saw the back of those. I had an objective to advance 3 units. There's a Blood Angel special rule called Swift Advance. So all I did was advance these 3, advance the Lieutenant, and I advanced the Martyrs so that he couldn't assault. But in the meantime, the Death Company that were on the bridge swung down to here, charged into this fella, and took 8 wounds off him in total. And the combat in this corner, the two Marines are now down to 1 Marine, so that's kind of doing not a lot. And this guy kind of did some shooting back that way and contributed to the death of those dudes over there. So pretty quick turn, and we're going to move into the Tyranid turn 5, and we are at 12 points, place 7. So this could be an interesting turn to see where we get to next. So let's move into the next turn. So the end of the Tyranid turn 5, a super quick turn. These guys issued out a smite, causing a mortal wound on this Bile Predator. This guy over here just backed away because that is an objective that he needs to claim, and some bad tactics, I'd say, for me, because I could have wrapped round and tried to stop that, but that's one for the learning points, I think. That combat finally came to an end over here with this Morlock finally eating with his disgended jaw, whatever it's called. This big eaty thing has had his lunch and killed my last Space Marine, and that was the end of it. So you actually scored 2 points for holding that one, a couple of points for holding this one, putting you on 11 as we roll off to see if there's another turn.
Yes.
Because if we get to the end of this point, you'll score line breaker and it'll be a tie.
Yeah.
So it all depends.
The Tyranids want the game to end.
The Tyranids want the game to end to tie it.
It will be your game.
So
we'll see.
It's your house. You roll the dice.
I think, don't you roll it because you went first.
Oh, okay, I'm happy to roll it. So was it 3 or more we play on?
Yeah.
We have another turn. It's a 6. So we're moving to the Blood Angels, turn 6. We're back to the end of the Blood Angels phase, and or end of their turn. This Bile Predator sped up his engines, charged forwards to get into the objective or into the deployment zone, should line breaker be required, and hopefully doesn't get smited to death by these guys. We continued shooting because I had an objective of overwhelming firepower to kill a unit in the shooting phase, so this Dakka Pred killed a bunch of them, but not enough to remove the termagants from the board, so didn't secure it with that particular unit. I tried also fragging them with my Devastators, and they took out a couple more, but alas, still 2 left, and they're immune to morale while being in synapse range. Death Company piled into this Morlock. He was only on 4 wounds and died rather tragically to Thunderhammers. It was the Thunderhammers that killed him in the end, yeah, even with all the rerolls. I still only got 2 through, and you saved 1, but enough at flat 3 damage to do the job. The Storm Raven went into hover mode so that he could get a better angle on this Morlock. The Morlock was only on 6 wounds, and with the combined firepower, even on that degraded profile, with the Storm Strikes, the Last Cannons and the Melters, was enough to see him away. So that cleared that objective, and I scored a total of 4 points that turn.
Yeah, you had some good cards.
So I had some very good cards. So Supremacy, which is control 3 objectives. So I have the one in the middle, this one over here, and this one here, so that gave me D3 points, and I scored 2. And then for wiping a unit in the shooting, which was that Morlock, and the assault phase, which was that Morlock, for 2 more points. So that puts me up to 16. And you're on how many, Nick?
Well, 11.
And 11. 16 plays 11 as we head into the Tyranids turn 6. So the end of the Tyranid turn 6, and it was a bit of a last hope as they all piled into that Bile Predator. The Bile Predator was then rended asunder by these pimped up Gene Stealers with all of their nasty buffs. Yeah, quite easy to get rid of those, and that was the last few wounds off of him. And you scored a point for winning or beating an opponent or an enemy unit within the fight phase. So that puts you up to 12.
12, yeah, the other cards I couldn't really do.
So the question is, do we get another turn? You should roll it this time. I rolled it this last time.
That's my turn now.
Yep.
And the game goes on.
The game goes on to turn 7. This will be the last turn.
I think we might call
thank
it,
God.
Unless you want to just table me.
But that's all it's going to be, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's just the cards you had on that last one was destroy stuff that flew, which is all down here. So should we just call it there?
Yeah, I'm happy to
Cool.
do that. Well done. Thank you very much. Great game.
Cheers. So there we go. The 2,000 point game of Blood Angels versus the Tyranids went one way, it went one way to start with.
Yeah.
And then when the big stuff came down,
I felt much better.
You
when
felt
the
you were looking
reserves came
confident
in.
when those when those big gribblies come
We're
in.
more confident if the Morlocks actually could do something.
The Morlocks suck.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. They are cheap though.
100 points.
I think it was 110 points how I armed them up.
Yeah.
So pretty cheap, but they don't do a lot.
But super distraction though. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sitting over here thinking this is the place to be fighting, and then you drop 36 wounds worth of stuff over here, and the Flyrants in the middle, and then suddenly I'm a bit dispersed.
Change the dynamics.
So I'm now not knowing where to go. So my Death Company were forwards and backwards all the time. But yeah, it started off typical Tyranid fashion.
Yeah.
Get mowed down by the guns, wait for the reinforcements, turn the tide, I guess turns 4, 5 and 6 is where the real nitty-gritty began to happen.
Yeah, and I managed to get a few points back. I didn't have particularly good cards, I don't think, along the way. I had, I think, 1 or 2 rounds, which just, because I think at one point I was about 7 or 8 points behind.
Yes.
I had a couple of rounds, I did gain a few points back, and then right at the last 2 rounds, I got really dreadful cards.
You did, and conversely, I got some really good cards. One of those rounds, I scored like 5 points in a round.
Yeah. Just
behind 2 defend cards and then advance 3 units, and suddenly I've just gotten 5 points.
Yeah.
And that's huge in this kind of game. So cards were king.
Yeah.
I think you were beaten a little bit by the cards.
Yeah, I was really hoping that it would end on turn 5. I would have got the draw. I would have taken that.
Yeah, I think you would have taken that. But yeah, the 2 extra turns, forcing me to do that line breaker, trying to compensate, which then gave you a little mini objective to go and try and kill the Bile Predator.
Yeah, indeed.
But a very good game, very thematic as well, because Blood Angels and all that DACA versus Tyranids, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great game.
And certainly makes a change to seeing you and your beloved Necrons.
Indeed.
But I'm sure we'll be seeing them again soon.
I'm sure you will.
But thank you very much for the game, much appreciated. And I guess in the new year we'll be back for round 3 at some point.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Nick. Cheers.
Thank you.
So there we go then, guys. That was the net result of the battle report, and the Blood Angels, as you saw, were triumphant. It was a very, very good day. That room does get a little bit warm, and you might have seen some perspiration. That wasn't from sweating from trying to play the game. Yeah, the room did get a little bit warm. The radiator sits right behind where we do that filming, so yeah, a little bit hot. But it's a great day out. Really, really enjoyed our games down there for the day, and I'm sure there'll be more to come in the new year. Thank you very much to Nick for being a great host once again. Look forward to seeing what we can do in the new year. But thank you very much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed the battle report. And if you did and you learned something new, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I shall catch you guys on the next video.
Excellent.
There's no outtakes. I need some outtakes. There are some outtakes.
We're too good. That's right.
We're getting ready when you are.
Okay, I'm ready.
Go.
What am I doing?
say hello.
Oh. Nick speaking, and welcome to this battle report. Are we actually doing this at the beginning?
We can do this at the beginning if you like.
This is so unplanned.
Oh no, we're total professionals at YouTube, right? So we'll move into the Necrons.
Necrons?
Necrons?
Necrons!
Necrons! We'll move into the Tyranids. Turn 2. I'll edit that bit.